Hello everybody, my name is Jonny Doyle, I'm from Ireland, and I have a YouTube channel called The Lad with the Beard.
Welcome to the Real Riders Podcast. My name's Simon Josie, and this is a podcast about motorcycling and filmmaking. If this is your first time here, welcome and thanks for listening. As you heard, my guest for today's episode is Jonny Doyle, yet another guest hailing from the Emerald Isle. If I keep this up, I'm going to be accused of bias or favouritism. Anyway, we'll get to my chat with Jonny shortly. I want to keep this intro short, but I do need to mention again that the 2027 edition of the Adventure Motorcycle Film Festival has launched, and we are now taking submissions via our FilmFreeway page. Tickets for the festival are not yet on sale, but will be soon. Keep an eye on www.advmotofilmfest.com and the festival's Instagram account for the latest information. You'll find all the links in the show notes. Don't forget, you can find the Real Riders Podcast on Instagram, where I post, amongst other things, trailers for each new episode. And if you want to know what I've been watching recently, I occasionally post about that on Blue Sky. Links for both the Instagram and Blue Sky accounts can be found in the show notes. Finally, if you want to help keep the servers running, pumping out the episodes, you can now support the podcast via Buy Me a Coffee donations. I have a few operational costs associated with hosting and remote recording infrastructure, and any donations go towards paying for those. The link is in the show notes and also in my Linktree, which you can find in my Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube account profiles. Righto, let's get to my talk with Jonny. Hi, Jonny. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me today. How are you?
I'm all good. Thank you very, very much for having me. I'm enjoying the sunshine, what little we get.
Oh, yes. So famously on this podcast, I say that I don't want to talk about the weather, and then I usually do talk about the weather. If you're in Ireland and you're having good weather, that means 2 or 3 days from now, I should also be having good weather. So that's good news.
Well, I'll send some over.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Actually, Ireland has this reputation for being sort of shrouded in mist, very green, hence lots of rain, or lots of rain, hence very green. But one thing that I find quite amusing is I'm constantly surprising myself by watching videos on YouTube by people who live in Ireland and how beautiful and blue skies and sunny it is. And I'm thinking, who's lying to me here? Is this being done in post-production, or is the weather really actually that good and I've been misled all these years?
It's all a green screen. We're just absolutely faking everything. No, I think most people, I say most content creators will go out when the weather is good and make their videos and make the place look absolutely amazing. But majority of the time, it's probably not like that at all.
Okay. Well, I come from originally from New Zealand, and we're a small island in a big sea, and so we get a lot of rain. So I'm used to rain. But look, I've clearly failed at my attempt at small talk, excluding the weather. So we're gonna stop talking about the weather, and I'm gonna jump to my first question, which will be a lot more serious. At the time of recording this interview, your YouTube channel has almost 290 videos. I'm sure it's going to click over to 300 very shortly. The first one was published on the 1st of June, 2022. Can you remember now what first motivated you to start the channel? And has that motivation changed over time?
Oh, what a question. I think if I go back to when I first took a camera on a motorbike, I had a obnoxious blue Harley-Davidson Softail, which looked great. And I think I just wanted people to see it. And I did a small little trip with my brothers around Ireland, and it was a really crappy camera. I think like 720, whatever resolution that was. And I kind of I did that trip, and then I stopped. I just kept going out on the bike, and I didn't have a camera. And then I had a very good friend of mine in Donegal, whose name is Harley Mick. And I kept going up to visit him, loved going up to his bike room. And he always had a camera, and he's always sticking it in your face. And you go out for a spin, and he'd be putting it on the bike, and he'd be putting up these little videos on he had a little YouTube channel. And I remember turning around to him one day, and I said, yo, man, like, what is the story with the camera? Like, can we not just go for a spin? Why do we have to have the camera? And he did just turn around and says, because someday when I'm gone, that's all that'll be left of me. And my grandkids won't know me for being grumpy. They'll know me because I was a biker. And that is literally what he said to me. And I was like, oh, that's actually really, really cool. And I kept going out for bike rides, and I'd come home, and obviously I when I started doing biking, I didn't have any kids, and then I had kids. And I come home and the kids are like, "Oh, Dad, where were you? What were you doing?" And I was like, "I was out on the bike. And what did you see?" And I was like, "Stuff." And so I just started. Oh, well, maybe I'll record what I'm actually doing. So I'm not sure about the timelines of all of this. Maybe some of it is a bit skewed, but I then fast forward. My friend passed away, and yeah, he's correct. All we have left is all his videos. And I thought, so I started kind of dabbling in making some videos, and then I moved on to getting into YouTube. And actually, primarily, I live in the middle of nowhere. I had no proper telly or satellite, and so I started watching YouTube, and I went out and bought an opportunity of buying a new bike. And I Googled, I said, can short people ride Harley Davidson Pan America? And I stumbled across a YouTuber called Million Dollar Bogan, and I absolutely just fascinated by the man. And then I just watched all his stuff. I thought it was funny. And then, you read online, the guy's not like that in real life. And then he came to Ireland, and he was doing a meet and greet a couple of years ago. And I thought, would this be really naff to go up and actually meet a YouTuber? I've never done anything like this before. And I was doing the Irish photo rally, and I said, oh, there's a point just around the corner, Anyway, so I went up, and it coincided with the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. And there was a lot of people there. And I thought, maybe they're not all here for him. But then he started talking, and a lot of people were listening to what he was saying. And he was quite, his usual self. He comes across, he's a certain type of personality. And I met him, and I got to ask him a question, and I got a picture taken with him, and that was nice. And then that was it. And we were leaving, and I left the dealership, and he pulled up beside me and asked me which way did the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride go. And I went, oh, I think it went this way. And he goes, could you show me? So we ended up on the M50 in Dublin. We lost him. And I didn't realize he actually had his camera on. So he was videoing me in front of him. And then he pulled up beside me. He goes, come on, let's go. Anyway, we ended up in the Phoenix Park. We pulled over. I said to him, I think they're coming through here. I rang the dealer. The dealer said, yeah, they will be coming through there. What I didn't know was they weren't going to be coming through there for about another 2 hours. So I got to spend time with this guy who was my first YouTuber that I started following and watching all of his stuff. And then he just said to me, he goes, do you want to appear in the video? We'll make a viral clip. And this is all alien to me. And I said, okay, cool, Danny, what do you want to do? He goes, kick my helmet. I'm like, what? He goes, kick it. And I was like, Danny, this is like a bobhead helmet. Like they gave it to you, like, partner, what's going on? He goes, kick it. So I kicked it, and he goes, that wasn't good enough. And he goes, kick it again. So he's with the camera getting me to kick his helmet. And I gave it a boo across the road. I thought I actually kind of snapped a bit off it. And then we had a pretend fight. And he's asking me, he's like, no, you're not giving me, give it to me. And then he pushed me, but that kind of way when someone pushes you in a pretend fight, and you're like, going, hold on, that's not pretend. What the fuck? So the Dublin accent came out at me, and we videoed the whole thing. And then he goes, I'm going to lie on the ground. You take a picture of me. I was like, okay. I said, why? And he goes, go set up a YouTube channel. I'm going to start putting snippets of this up, but you comment saying like, oh, you're too scared to show this picture. So he's thinking about all of what his viewers engage him in. And then he did his interviews with people in the area, people walking past, and I got to see the whole behind the scenes of what a YouTuber does to, make a video. But the key thing was, how he was when the camera wasn't rolling is how he is when the camera is rolling. He is just himself. So I asked him straight. I said, people think you're like making shit up. Now, obviously, we're making some just bit of fun, a bit whatever. But in general, I've watched you interview people, and you are to them what you are to me when that camera is not on. And he just looked at me and goes, just keep it real. He goes, they'll either love it or they'll hate it. And he goes, if they hate it and they say they hate it, it just makes the people who love you even more. He said, just be, he says, just be you.
Yeah.
So I went off, I said goodbye to Danny, and it was about over 2 hours. It was an absolute blast that I had with him. And off he went, and that was it. And then I went down to meet a friend in a coffee shop, and I was sitting there, and he walked in and said to the guy, I'm looking for, is Johnny here? And the guy at the counter says, oh, the lad with the beard, he's over there. And I went, that's a really good name for a YouTube channel. I'm going to keep that. So that's where that came from. And then Danny put up the video. I commented on the video saying you weren't so brave when I put you on the... Boom. I got hundreds of followers at the start from that. And that is kind of how it started.
Okay, so I'm thinking, is that the whole interview done now? I think that's a great story. I don't know if I've got anything to add. Wonderful. But okay, so one thing I noticed at the beginning, at least your first video, maybe even your first couple of videos, it's just you writing. There's no commentary. There's no talking. So when did that happen?
I'm not sure if the wife is going to listen to this, but that's all her fault. I had a rake of videos up. I was using music from a guy that I work with had given me his music to use. And I did a video, I can't remember which one it was, and I actually spoke. So it was the first one where I kind of said something. And I don't know how it came up in conversation, but I think I might have just asked the wife. I said, "How did you watch the last video?" She goes, "Yeah, I did actually. I watched all of it." And I was like, "What?" She goes, "I actually watched all the video. You spoke actually, and I was intrigued at what you were going to say or what was going to happen. So I actually watched all of it." And I went, "But I have about." I think at the time, like I said, I have about 40 videos that you've never watched. She goes, no, they're all a bit boring. I said, it's much more interesting when you talk. And I was like, okay. So yeah, I just started talking.
Okay. So tying that all up now, how would you describe or even explain motovlogging to someone who'd never seen it before?
It should be, in my view, what happens from when you start the bike and leave to when you come back, and it should entail a bit of a story. You should be able to find out what the person is doing from start to finish. It should be an insight into why they're doing what they're doing. Now, no, I don't think all vlogs kind of cover that in every single episode. So I do think watching a YouTube channel and just watching a one-off video, it's very hard to get a good insight as to what that person is actually all about. You do have to watch a couple, so you have to kind of invest a little bit of time. Like if I had just watched one of Danny Hayes' videos of him trashing a Pan American and never bothered watching another one, I wouldn't know what he is actually about. So what is motovlogging? It should be an insight into the person, and it should be personal, and hopefully not trying to sell you something.
Given your experience meeting this guy, and he's from Australia, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm aware of him. Have I watched any? I'm not sure I've watched any of his videos, but I'm definitely aware of him. Did you realize at the time the fact that he told you just to be yourself, to be real, how valuable that was?
No. You know, I would have. I think I've alluded to you at the start of the interview, or when we talked before, that I spent 25 years playing music, and I'm used to the person on stage behind that microphone is not the person at the side of the stage. If you come up and talk to me afterwards, it's what I'm doing is a performance.
Yeah,
I am standing on stage. I am in my brain, I'm a rock god, and but outside of the stage, I don't want to talk to anybody. They come up to me, I'm just like, oh God, no, just I'm not that person.
Yeah.
But when you strip all the fancy lights and all the PA and all the songs and all your band members, and suddenly it's just you can do one or two things. You can maintain a persona online and be something else that you think will work. Or you can just go, you know what, I'll just give a crack at being myself and being me. And you'll either love it or you'll hate it. So no, it took me a while to understand what that meant. And I think it was a valuable piece of advice. It's certainly, I probably wouldn't have contextualized what I just said 5 minutes ago, probably even last year or the year before last. I said it's taken a while for me to understand that I just need to be me, and you either like it or you don't.
Has that, okay, I don't want to sound over dramatic, but has that sort of brought a sense of freedom or sort of inner peace? And I mean, that does sound over dramatic. Forgive me, everyone, but you know where I'm heading with this, right?
Yeah, it definitely I think I've learned over the last couple of years that there's no point trying to pretend to be something. You just if you just be yourself on the videos and don't pretend. And if it's a hard watch, if you're coming across as it and you think people are going to find this hard to watch because maybe you're not happy in the video or you're not happy in the vlog, well then that's exactly what happened. That's what happened on the trip. Or and you can try and convey that as much as you want. I've never had someone come back to me and say I'm faking it. I think anyone that knows me knows that that's what I'm like. I am an open book. Especially over the last couple of years, I've become very open in everything that I can discuss. So yeah, it's yeah. I think that's hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, no. I guess it served it on the plate really. Are you the kind of person who spends a lot of time looking at the YouTube statistics? And if you are, do you see any noticeable movement when you put out a video that is perhaps a little bit more raw, maybe slightly more difficult to watch, but actually ultimately more engaging to watch? Do you see that in the statistics?
I don't know. I'd say like anyone starting out, you're hell-bent on checking your subscribers and checking the data and seeing how many times people click on things or how much of a watch time each video. I've done it all. And I quickly learned that you will drive yourself absolutely insane concentrating just on that. You can actually look at loads of videos saying the thumbnail is so important. You've got to have the thumbnail right. I have a lot of videos. Without a shadow of a doubt, I have a lot of videos put up. I also have a lot of shorts as well. I aim to do a lot of shorts. I find my most successful video was one that I just threw together. It didn't contain much footage. There was not much edits. The videos that I can't remember exactly what video it was, where I spent maybe a week, 2 weeks putting the video together. There is numerous camera angles, drone footage. I'm spending ages picking the right music. I'm matching all the audio levels. I've gone right, and I put it up, and it has 80 views, and it never did anything. And you're like, oh. So where you can just put something up, throw it up, and it's like, suddenly that the algorithms work, and people somehow like that. You can overdo it, and I think if you find a niche, if you find something that consistently works, I think people will tend to do it. So there's definitely YouTube vloggers who probably started out doing one thing and then they did something and that went really good for them. And now that's all they do is that one thing. And you'll find when you meet other people, oh, did you see your man's video? And I'll be going, oh yeah, I don't really watch that channel anymore because he's now like he's selling stuff all the time and he's reviewing this and that. He wasn't that before. But you always just reach new audiences. So I don't ever plan a video to be something. It just is what it is. But I do always try have in mind to have a start, a middle, and an end, just to kind of wrap it up or something like that. So, like in my last video, I had to do a voiceover. I've never really done a voiceover, and that was because we were using Cardos, and if I was speaking, everyone could hear me, and I just felt really weird talking away about it,
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I think in that particular video, I think I like the mix of the voiceover and the captured or the actual video, the audio. I think it works quite well. I think you do explain that you had to do that in the video, don't you? It's nice. You break the fourth wall. But I do like having the two different perspectives. But you say you haven't done much of that.
No, I tend not to. I tend to try and everything that is in a vlog happened while it's on the vlog, and there's very little retrospective viewing of the video. So particularly the last video was the training one down in Cork with Rob and Owen. That was when I started to put it together, I realized none of this ties in. I can't move from this scene to that scene. Oh, look, we're in Clarny. Well, why are we in Clarny? It's just, I wasn't able to pin it together. And it was just the flow of the day that enabled me. I was like, I really have to do a voiceover on this. I think the last voiceover one I did was my review of the ABR last year, where I was with also Robin Nolan, and we did a fantastic trip. And when I started putting the video together, I was kind of like, this doesn't flow, and I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say. I was like, well, is it worth going to? Was it any good? And I went, well, the only way I can do that is to kind of interview myself. So that's exactly, I sat here, I put the bike behind me, stuck the camera on, and I interviewed myself. And that video did quite well. It got definitely a couple of thousand views and sparked a lot of debate. But, that's my intention. It was just to get people thinking about why it was worth it. So maybe I should do more interviews. Maybe I should interview myself more often.
I want to come back to something that you sort of hinted at a little bit, which is preparation for a vlogging ride, and particularly around the dialogue. Do you wake up in the morning and go, oh, there's a thought? I wouldn't mind sort of exploring that idea, that thought a little bit while I'm vlogging today. Do you plan your dialogue? Do you do any preparation? Not necessarily write anything down, but do you, beyond the beginning, the middle, and the end, as you've mentioned, do you think about ideas that you want to explore when you're having a ride?
I'd say no. I say no. Like, for instance, like tomorrow I'm going off-roading, and I'm going down to meet More Ireland and Steve. And I will be bringing cameras, and I'll bring my drone, etc. What preparation I'll do for that, there will be none. I'll go, when I get a video, I'm going to trailer the bike down. I'm going, right, well, I'll put the camera on in the car, and that will be my intro. And that's about as much as I've thought about that. I will literally put the camera on the car, and you'll see the bike and the trailer behind, and I'll talk about what I'm going to do. And then I'll know then when I get there, I'll know what shots I want, right? Well, I need the B-roll, so I have a camera for my B-roll. But these are all just standard things that I do now. I suppose if I was trying to explain to someone how I make my video, that would be like, I need the B-roll, try to get the drone up. If someone's willing to talk to me on camera about their off-roading journey, I'll ask for permission, and I'll then do a quick interview with them. I've done that loads of times. And then I'll cover a couple of things. In terms of my goal now for my off-roading, I need to put myself in a tricky situation. So that's kind of what I'm going to try and do tomorrow. I'm going to try and find something that I shouldn't have any right to be in on a bike, and how I'm going to get out of it. And it won't be a case of finding it and setting up all the cameras and everything, and then putting the bike in it and pressing record and going. It will literally just be driving around, and I'll go, oh shit, I shouldn't be here, right? How do I get out of it? It's not so much, I understand why people do this, but the whole one where, and I've done it once, but I took the piss out of it, was you wake up in the morning and there's a shot of a tent, and next of all, you see yourself getting out of the tent, and you stretch, and you're like, dude, you you woke up 5 minutes ago, got out of your tent, put the camera up, and then you came back and you got into the bed, and then you wait for the tent to stop moving, and then you pretended to get, I'm like, seriously? And I don't think most people ever cop that. But now that I've said it, and if anyone's listening to this, the next time you watch a vlog of someone getting out of a tent, you got to remember he's already been out of the tent and set up. So I try to avoid things like that unless I'm taking the absolute piss out of the fact that I did it. And I did that in one of my videos when I'm waking up, So yeah, most of my content is spontaneous and not pre-planned, I think is the answer to the question.
Okay. The whole tent thing, it reminds me actually, one of my former guests, Arvids, lives in Latvia, and it was not actually a motorcycle film, but he did this little lovely film he made in the forest, tramping to his hut. And I've seen this with other films shot in the snow as well. When you realize that the camera cannot see any footprints in the snow, you have to think that, when they put the tripod up, they've walked all the way around the back to put the tripod there so that you cannot see the footprints in the snow of when they came to put the tripod up. So it looks like they're walking across fresh snow. And you think, actually, that took quite a bit of work to do that.
Oh, I admire the video makers who will drive down a road and set up a camera and then drive back and then drive past it because now you have to get off the bike and go back and pick up the camera. I find them really hard to do because I find it hard to turn around on a road on off-roading because I'm so small. And I've been out in the Pan America on tracks going, it would be really great if I got a shot of me driving past here. And then I go and try to get off the bike and realize I can't actually get off the bike here. It's too steep. And then I just go, forget about it. But I have invested in a drone that can hopefully solve some of them issues. And so far it's worked out quite well.
Yeah, yeah. You talked about knowing what kind of shots you need to make your story. So how long did it take to learn that? Because I'm assuming that, like, you haven't gone to college, university to study filmmaking. You've had to learn this. I'm guessing you probably learned most of it when you first started editing, because that's what most people do. They go, oh, I need something to link this shot, and oh, what, I need that B-roll. So how long did it take you to realize, what was that process of learning how to build up that language of filmmaking?
I think it's when I inherited a second camera, to be honest with you. I think, yeah, it's like I had a camera on the bike facing me, and then I had a camera on my chin facing front. And when I started doing that, I couldn't recall the time frame on when I discovered this. I was like, well, now when you're driving, you kind of interview yourself and you're like, oh, okay, that's something different. And it breaks up the monotony of the single camera.
Yeah.
But there is YouTubers who get great success out of a single camera. Like $1 Million Bogan would be one of them. There's no fancy microphones. It's one camera and one camera only. But he adds in the drone and then he adds in the B-roll. I started to watch other videos. I went, oh, if I just had a shot of I don't necessarily need something fancy. I just need a different angle. And it doesn't have to be a stop and get off the bike. It could just be going around the bike. And you cut that in under your other talking. So it was when I started exploring editing, and it was like, there's nothing wrong with changing the camera angles and stuff like that. So yeah, it was when I inherited the second camera, which in turn makes your videos more hard to edit because now you're suddenly into matching. You're trying to match the resolution and the quality of the image. So I can see why some people just abandon it, because the quality from the two cameras could be absolutely completely different. And then of course someone said to me, just use your phone. I was like, oh, that's a really good. Phones are capable of recording really good video. So I started using my phone, and we go back to the edit and realize you had the phone in portrait and not landscape, and you go and kill yourself. You're like, oh, fucking idiot. So for instance, I have a vlog coming out in a couple of weeks where I went into the shop and I was like, well, I don't want to walk around the shop with my GoPro or my whatever. So I just took out the phone. And when I was doing the edit, I was like, that's actually not that bad, actually, I think. And then my friend, Rob, he runs a YouTube channel. In his video, a lot of the clips that he's actually using of me is actually just from his phone. And I thought, you swine, that's actually really clever. I'm driving past him, he's got his phone out, and I was like, what's he doing with his phone? So yeah, I think it's like, what's that classic thing? To make 1 minute good video, you need 1 hour good footage. That kind of frame behind it. And when I learned that, I was like, right, well, a lot of the stuff that you record actually never makes it to the vlog. So 1 minute is good 1 hour, or whatever way you want to look at it. So yeah, it was definitely a learning curve.
Okay, and that prompts me to ask a question about the dialogue, the speaking. How much of what you say on a trip, on a vlogging trip, typically a ride, a vlogging ride, how much of what you're saying typically makes it to the final edit?
I'd say about 50% of what I say, and it's nothing to do with what I'm saying. It's just like, I was doing the Irish Photo Rally one on the Pan America recently, and a lot of what I'm saying is just like, I don't think people would be interested in me talking about GPX files and how to record stuff, and I just edit it down into, I use this is what I have on that. So, but when I'm editing a video, I would generally scan to the clips of where I'm talking more so than the clips of where I'm not, because I'll hark back to what the wife said, if you're talking in the video, it's what keeps up the engagement. So I will always scan through to the clips where I can see clearly on a waveform. Oh, I'm talking here. What did I say? And then sometimes you listen back to it going, I don't remember saying that. What possessed me to talk about that? And then sometimes you can just be ranting or just having a random conversation about why you're there, and that makes perfect sense, and then that gets included. So not everything I say would get included, but I'd say the vast majority of the more interesting stuff, yes, I would.
And typically, do you keep the video and the audio synced? In other words, from the original recording of whatever you're seeing at that time, or whichever way the camera's pointing and you're speaking, do you keep those two things together, or do you take your audio and sometimes move it around and match your audio with a different piece of video in any sort of significant way? Not just like a brief cutaway shot, but I mean like really from different parts of the whole piece, should we say?
That's a really good question. I'd say all of my videos are in sync to the times that they happened. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't take something from an afternoon and put it at the start. The start of the video was the start of the day. I think if I'm doing a review video of the ABR, that would be quite different. But a vlog where it's me on the road, it's running in the order that it happened. And if it's me talking, generally it's 95% of what you're looking at is what I'm looking at when I'm speaking. What you're hearing is what I'm seeing.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And does that mean that what you're seeing, what the camera's recording, is driving the audio, and it's driving what you're talking about quite a lot? In other words, are you reacting to what you're seeing? Like I that's what I've seen. I've seen, you've just stopped for a coffee and then you'll talk about the coffee that you got there, or you'll drive past a motorcycle shop that you have some sort of relationship with and you know the people there. So you're often, what you're talking about is very time and location specific.
Yes.
So have you ever thought about, and this is sort of coming back to what I was saying earlier about in terms of that preparation, waking up in the morning thinking about, I'd quite like to talk about this, I'm feeling this or something, and I'd quite like to talk about that, which would not be necessarily time or geolocated, and you could just put it in. Is that the kind of thing that you've thought about doing, or is that too hard basket, not something you're interested in? What's sort of your feeling about that?
The one thing that jumps to mind is a video I did as to why I vlog, actually. That's what's coming to my head right now after asking me that, because that was, I got some free time. I headed north and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I wanted to record that day. I actually had no idea. I had everything with me and I just headed north. And I said, where will I go? And I went, oh, you know what? I'll head up to Donegal and I'll go to the place I last went for a spin with my friend Hardy Mick. So as I was driving into Derry, it was a case of, what am I going to talk about today? It's like, so I don't know anything about Derry. There's no motorbike shops. I kind of say, oh, but and then I just thought, well, I'm going up here to think about Mick. I'm going to go visit his grave. I'm going to go to the place we last spun on. And then I just went, well, I said, why do I do this? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why is this camera on? So that was a case of nothing to do with where I was geographically. It was a case of a memory of this place from beforehand. And that just spurred into that. So that vlog turned into that, as in why I vlog, but it wasn't my intention when I left that morning.
Okay, so that's interesting because I've watched that video. It's interesting for another reason actually that I want to bring up, which is I was drawn to that video because the title is called Random Thoughts on a Random Ride North. It released or published on the 24th of August last year. But the thumbnail, as you indicate, had the text, why do I vlog? And that's kind of a little bit like a red rag to a bull with me. It's like, now this is, because I'm very interested in this whole topic of why people vlog. And what I found interesting about what you said, particularly towards the end of the video, if I remember correctly, is you said, you explain why you vlog, as you just sort of told us, but you also suggest that your reasons for riding are actually more complicated. They're more difficult to explain than why you vlog. And that really surprised me because my assumption, rightly or wrongly, is that most people would find it relatively easy to explain why they ride, and maybe less easy to explain why they vlog. And you turned that around for me, and you said, "Oh yeah, I can explain why I vlog. That's relatively straightforward for me." But why do I ride? That's a whole other story. And you didn't you didn't want to. Well, it's not that you didn't want to, but you didn't sort of expand on that. And so, can I ask you why you framed it in that way, which is a sort of a way of asking you maybe to explore a little bit why you didn't want to talk so much about why you ride. Maybe it was because it was the end of the video. I don't know, but I'm going to sort of open it up for you there and and let you have a go at that.
Why do I ride? I think I've always said bike time is me time. So it is my escape. And I know if the wife is listening to this, she would say, yes, you escape a lot. But yeah, bike time is me time. I find that when you have I'd say a hectic life, especially over the last number of years, the bike has really helped me through a lot of personal issues. So yeah, if we'll start getting heavy now. So it's helped me through a lot of personal issues. I had lost a son, and then I've dealt with my wife having cancer, and I found that when things became too much, and I needed a break. I needed to get out, clear my head. The bike was it. And in turn, then I lost my friend as well. So there's a lot of stuff. I lost my brother. So I had a lot of things like that dealing with. But the big one is, obviously losing my son and the fallout from that. And I just find that when it's that classic image of everything's really noisy, the world is really noisy, and then you put on the helmet and suddenly everything is just quiet and it's just you. And when you're driving a motorbike, it helps you, it doesn't help you forget what's happened. It almost gives you just the clarity to maybe just think about it. So I find that when I'm driving, I might be thinking of the shit that I'm going through, and it helps me work it out. That like since COVID, I say prior to COVID, I probably wouldn't have driven a bike that much, as much as I could. But since COVID, obviously, and not being a musician anymore, I got my weekends back, and I'm able to be out a hell of a lot more. And up prior to discovering off-roading, I would have just been primarily a solo biker. I don't ride in groups. I'm not part of a bike club or anything like that. And I just found this is amazing therapy. It's just me and the bike and nothing else. And this is just really good for your head. So I used biking for that. And that's probably the big thing. I just love getting out, the peace and the quiet. And I find it works. It's the better therapy than going to see a psychiatrist. And sometimes those who are closest to you are sometimes the hardest people to talk about your issues to, because they're involved in the issue as well. And when you can just bounce your ideas around your own helmet, I think it can really just help you. So, yeah.
Do you listen to anything when you're riding, either music or spoken word? Or
I used to listen to music till my intercoms broke, and that's another story. No, I generally don't. I don't even wear earplugs. I just listen to the noise around me. I don't listen to music at all. No.
Well, riding a Pan America, I guess it's quite a quiet bike, so you probably don't need.
Oh, right in the fields. Oh God, I feel so attacked. Yes, the Quiet America. Yes, I do have a street glide with some monster ovals, and it's a lot noisier. But yeah, I feel attacked. Good.
Sorry, it was a cheap shot. Because actually, I was seriously going to ask, had the mental sort of processing that you do while riding, had it changed when the intercom stopped working?
Not really, no. I'd still, even with the music on, like being a musician, I love listening to music, obviously, and I listen to everything and anything. I just find on the bike, it's not really enjoyable listening to music. It's just, you can't really hear anything, you know. It doesn't matter how good the headphones are. As a bass player, I want to hear the bass, and sure, you can't hear the bass on a helmet. So no, yeah, I just prefer not to listen to the music, I think. And it was more just background noise, and probably damaging my hearing even more because I'd have to crank it up to hear it.
Yeah.
And even on the street glide, the radio doesn't work. So I didn't even get to really enjoy that for, I think that broke after about 3 months. So.
Okay. In terms of general preparation for a vlogging ride, do you do anything else? Are you the kind of person who likes to spend an hour before getting the bike ready, or are you the kind of person who just like, right, the camera, click on, bingo, I'm off, I'm gone, make it as sort of frictionless as possible to get out the door? Or is the preparation something that excites you?
Making sure everything is charged is a bit of a pain in the arse. I would generally, like I got out tomorrow, so tonight I'll come down, I'll just plug everything in. I have it down to a fine art in terms of cases and whatever else I need to carry, and it all goes into one big bag, and it just depends on the bike that I'm on. But no, it's not a scene from Predator where I'm standing in the mirror, you know, putting on the war paint and right, let's go do this. It's a case of just grab everything and throw it in. And there's no ritual at all. It's just, yeah, that's it. Let's go.
Okay, I think I was watching something the other day. It wasn't necessarily about getting ready to go out and film, but it was someone. Oh no, it was it was a podcast I was listening to. Someone talking about the ritual of getting ready to ride, putting all the gear on, and that was part of the pleasure for them actually. But it also sort of got them mentally in the right space, and I completely relate to that. I am an infrequent rider. I ride once a week when the weather's good, and so it's it's an occasion for me to go for a ride, and I love mentally preparing for it, even the day before, thinking about where I'm going, how I'm going to ride, and then on the day getting ready to go. And I was thinking, oh, why does this appeal to me so much? And I haven't done it for a while. I'm going to do it briefly here. I'd like to draw parallels with scuba diving, which I did a lot of when I was living in Asia. And it's very similar for me. When I go diving, I have a whole sort of ritual I go through to test all my equipment. And it's part superstition in some ways, like, oh, I must test everything to know it's not my fault when it all goes wrong underwater, right? At least I'm not going to be annoyed with myself that I didn't check everything. And so I find I'm a little bit the same with motorcycling. You can attack me now. I made fun about the Pan American. Feel free to come at me. But is that something that is alien to you, or can you respect that maybe from a distance, or are you fully on board with that sort of approach?
Well, I think when it comes to scuba diving, you really don't want anything going wrong. So you're going to have to make sure everything is right. My brother used to do scuba diving school, so I understand the importance of making sure there's oxygen in the tank, etc., and that your regulators are all working. Otherwise it's all going to go very, very wrong.
Yeah.
I am blessed that I go out on the bike so often that maybe I don't consider it a ritual, or I ride the bike a couple of times a week. When I'm working from home, the bikes are right behind me. And so I'm never too far away from them. And I do get a lot of time tinker on the bikes. I work on a lot of my own bikes. The only ritual I actually have, it's funny that you said that, is I need to put my right glove on first. There's no way around it. If I do not put my right glove on first, I will take the other glove off and put my right glove on. If I stop the bike and I check the phone, if I have to take a glove off and I happen to take the left one off, I will have to take both of them off and put the right one back on. Don't ask me how it happened or where it came from. I have absolutely no idea why I do that, but it has to be the right glove first.
Well, it's working for you, so don't change it. Yeah. Yeah. Are you the kind of, a lot of people in the vlogging community are very interested in the tech and the gadgets.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the kind of person who's always looking for the newest gadget or filmmaking tool to make the vlogging easier, shall we say?
I'm not too hung up on having to be the latest and the greatest. I'm very technical minded. I love tech. I work in tech. So, apart from microphones, but we won't talk about that now. Um, so yes, no, I don't believe that you need the latest and the greatest. I really don't. After the first couple of years, I only changed my camera and setup there just at Christmas. And just before Christmas, I got a new drone. So I generally don't jump at the latest and the greatest. I don't think there's much need to it. If you do your research correctly, you'll find honest enough YouTubers who will explain this to you. So I run a GoPro 11. The 12, 13, 14, or whatever number they're on now has absolutely no appeal to me because I don't shoot in anything more than 2.7K. It doesn't interest me going any higher. I have a massive TV, like most people have a 55-inch TV, and I'll put my videos on that. And to me, I'm going, they look okay. They look absolutely fine. I don't see the reason why I need to shoot in 4K or 8K, I think is some people are telling me to go and shoot in. And all of that means you just need more powerful computers. And suddenly you realize you've just spent loads of money where you could have just gone out and bought a new set of tires or something for the bike instead. So I only changed over to the DJI Action 4 because after I looked it up, I went, this is very similar to the GoPro 11. The only reason I really changed it was I liked the quick release system for taking it on and off.
Right.
Because trying to change a battery on a GoPro attached to your helmet is a little bit of a fapping about with unscrewing everything, where I just thought, wow, this clip thing is actually really intelligent. And I like slow motion. I have a thing for doing slow motion. And the GoPro 11 does 2.7K at 240 frames a second. So I can slow that video down to the 5% of the original speed. It retains all the clarity in my head and it looks great. And that's cameras. So I have a GoPro 11, I have a DJI Action 4, and then I invested in these mic minis, which I thought, oh, this looks really cool because I was fed up with wires in the helmet and I got Rode microphones and all the lavaliers and all that. And it's just too much shite in your helmet and the wires fall down. So I went and I looked up these and I looked at the video and I thought I was quite impressed by the quality of the audio it records on, especially from within a helmet. I like the idea that you could get two of them pretty cheap, came in a carry case and you can charge them from the carry case. And yes, it doesn't quite connect to the camera the second you turn the camera on. I do believe the Mic Mini 3 and the Action 6 is a lot better, but I can't justify going and spending €900 when I could do it for under 300. And so that's why I went with that setup. And then I have a DJI Air 3, and the reason I bought the Air 3 is because I had a Mini 2 and it just does not like the wind. I've almost lost the drone a few times. It really struggled with the wind. And when I was going to Nordkapp, I decided I wanted a proper big drone. And I wasn't spending money on the Mavic. I didn't need 3 lenses and I didn't need to spend thousands. So I bought the Air 3 and now the Air 3S is out and there's nothing in the S that makes me want to go and get rid of this one. That drone is 43 minutes to a battery. Like when you're doing a vlog, you might put the drone up for maybe 3 or 4 minutes and then you move on to the next one. That's how I shoot drone footage. I don't have the drone in the air for 20 minutes. It's literally up, down. So with 3 batteries, 43 minutes of battery, this drone lasts days if you really wanted to. And then, yeah, I did go out and buy the Neo 2. And I kind of fell in love with my friend has a Neo and Rob used it last year for the TET. I thought it was really cool. Then the Neo 2 came out and it's really good. And the microphone connects to it. So it's like having it's like having a cameraman. So I did a quick review of it. I need to do some more on it because people have been asking me about it. Not hundreds of people, a couple of people, 2 or 3. They've gone out and got it. And you literally put the drone up. It will connect to the microphone. It will record the audio. And you can put your hand up and you can move it around like a Jedi. So it's like having a cameraman with you. And then when you're done, just land in your hand and off you go. Now, the battery life is not great on it, but so far for active track and everything, it is it's really good. And that's it. That's all I use.
With the vlogging audio, so are you putting the mic mini capsule inside your helmet? Are you just clipping it on the side? How do you mount it?
I'm literally shoving it in my snood, and I know this isn't a video vlog, but I have it built in wind jammer called the Beard, and it works really well for the wind noise. And
do you have a beard? Do you, Johnny?
Strange enough, I do. Yes, and so yeah, in the snood, and I just put it onto my cheek, and that I haven't attached it to anything, which means when I get off the bike, I need to make sure it's there. I mean, I need to make sure I remember it's there, because I've often take the snood off and the mic goes flying. But yeah, it's really good. I haven't had a problem with it. I'm sure there's better if you want to go and spend the money, but I haven't found any issues with the audio quality of it at the moment.
Do you have any frustrations, or are there technical things that sort of still irk you that you would like a solution for, or a solution exists, but it's maybe rather pricey at the moment?
I know you've had Dave from Wheelie Good TV on, and I've met Dave, and I've done a few spins with Dave. I'm trying to kill him on his new CRF. That's my goal for 2026.
Okay, heard it here first, folks. Yeah.
But yeah, when you find out what Dave actually does, it's kind of like oh shit, man, does he actually watch my videos then, or does he just turn them off because he look absolute dog shit? So I've kind of explored the whole D-Log side of things, and it was like, will I start doing D-Log? Will I start downloading the files from the DJI and the drone and get everything matched together? If you really want to delve into making the best of the best, your time is money. So that's where that cost comes into, because you will spend hours trying to make sure your footage on mat. Do I get some ND filters? Like, is an ND filter really gonna? And then you can go down that rabbit hole all you want, and people do it, and they do there's some amazing vlogs that look like, oh man, they look so good. The guy's got tripods, and he's got DSLR, SLR cameras, whatever they're called, big fancy cameras, and and they're doing that, and I go, man, yeah, and you could spend all of that money. But if you're shooting something that's just not interesting, then it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. Yeah. So I go back to $1 Million Bogan. It is one GoPro 11. It's not even in a media mod case. But what he is doing is just entertainment. It is, what did he used to say to me? He goes, don't watch Netflix, go out and make it. He's just making something interesting to watch. And he's doing it on a single camera using a run-of-the-mill PC with some basic editing software. You don't need all the fancy stuff, but you can definitely get consumed by having to have it. So yeah.
So your biggest undertaking by far in terms of your YouTube channel has been the Ireland to Nordkapp 2024 series. There's a playlist on the YouTube channel where you've collected like 32 videos together, of which the series itself consists, I think, of 28 episodes. That was a massive undertaking, and there's a big story behind it. Do you just want to maybe explain a little bit about that story, or actually you can explain as much as you want to share with us about that story?
That's no problem. Nordkapp was an idea that spawned between myself and the wife when I bought the Pan America. And originally I was going to go and do it in 2023. That was kind of the idea. And then my wife got breast cancer. And so that we kind of knocked that on the head. And I kind of toyed with the idea. I was like, oh yeah, it sounds like an awesome trip. But I was like, it sounds like a great spin. This is going to be awesome. And I was like, and then someone, the wife, I think it was just a conversation with the wife. It's like, well, why don't we make it a charity ride? I was like, that's a great idea. What sort of charities do we do it for? I'm like, well, we'll do it for Féileacáin. And that's Féileacáin is an Irish charity for baby loss, which we'd gone through. And I was like, okay, we'll do it for that. And I've done fundraising for them before as a family. And I was like, well, I need to raise a good bit of money. I said, so we'll pick another charity. So I said, okay, well, we'll pick a thing called the Coon Centre, which was a local charity cancer, which had greatly supported my wife. And then the area that I live in, we've a high level of suicide amongst young people, or just in general. So I picked So Sad, and I actually found out there last night that a girl that I work with, son-in-law, committed suicide. So it's still going on. So they were the three charities that I picked, and I said I'm going to say right, 2 grand each, 6 grand and grand. So then I started to plan it, and I wouldn't say I underplanned it or overplanned it. I felt like I planned it to the right amount, but I planned it always with in mind to be a solo ride and to be me on my own, and that way then everything on the bike, I'm fully self-sufficient. And then there was a toying around that my brother was going to come, and I didn't really explore it too much. I kind of just left it to him, because at the time he had a 35-year-old Goldwing, and yeah, I just didn't. I was like, I ain't gonna. We already tried Scotland, and that didn't go very well in terms of bikes breaking down and stuff like that. So I said, I'm not going to push him, but that's what I'm doing. And I had a Pan America, which was a new one from 2023. So it was almost going to be just over a year old when we left. So I was pretty happy with that. And we started doing the fundraising, and within a week, I think within the week I had like 2 grand raised. And I was like, oh, this is going really well. So then I just started thinking, right, well, I want to vlog this. I'm going to make a vlog out of this, and I'm going to show people the whole journey. And I started to do that. I was like, right, well, I need to make sure I have the momentum for fundraising. So I came up with stickers. So a local company sponsored me stickers. So I reached out for sponsorship. I had Keys discounting heavily heated clothing. I had Lomo, the bags. They looked after me for the bags, and all these, a local motorbike shop for a helmet and oils. And then I was on the Harley Davidson in the UK, the head office in Dublin and Belfast. And while they wouldn't come on officially, because that's just how these things work, they were all behind the scenes. Yes, we'll get the bike done, we'll get the bike sorted, etc. We'll get the servicing done. And loads of people willing me on, and next of all, I was at 4 grand after a couple of weeks. I thought, Jesus, this is going really well. And then I said, right, well, I have to keep momentum. I have to keep the momentum of the donations. And I had an idea of a flag. I thought, right, okay, a flag. What will I do with the flag? So a friend of mine, Decky and Lisa, they gave me an Irish flag. And I said, right, what I'm going to do is, if you make a small donation, you didn't have to, but if you made a small donation of someone who you've lost through baby loss, cancer, or suicide, I'll write their name on the flag. And I'll drive all the way to Nordkapp. And I'll get to the monument and I'll read out the flags, because we like to remember people. So then the Gone But Not Forgotten Bikers Mass in Ireland, they said, this is a great idea. I did work with them before. So their little logo is on it, and the people who gave me the flag, their little logo is on it. So then I launched that. Suddenly I raised over 6 grand. People were giving me money left, right, and center. And there's 270 names on the flag. I think about 240 when I got there. And so these are all people who lost, people under one of them circumstances, or just someone they wanted to remember. There's definitely some names on it that have nothing to do with either of the three things that I've mentioned. And then it just turned into, I have to get this flag there, and I only have a set amount of time to do this, and it's a long way. And I was like, can I do this? And sure, then I broke down after 4 days. And then my brother ended up coming, and that was great. And then he ended up breaking down. And he had to turn around because he had an oil leak. And then I'm in the middle of Sweden going, where the fuck am I? What the fuck is going on? Why isn't the bike working? Luckily, I had done my research. I had a jump pack. I got to the next Harley Davidson dealer. I rolled in. I was in a state. This guy is looking at me going, who the fuck is this? And he's like, yeah. And man, the Harley Davidson community, let's drag the bike, bringing the bike into the shop floor, tearing it apart, plugging it in. And I go, do you really want to be doing this on the floor in the fucking shop for the people? And the owner of the shop's a Lincoln Pop, Harley Davidson Lincoln Pop. He said to me, he's like, if you were buying a Harley Davidson and you walk into this shop and you seen a foreign registered bike and I had all my mechanics on it pulling it apart, what would that tell you? And I go, that you care about making sure I'm okay. He's like, yeah. He goes, that's a great advertisement for me. He goes, and we're going to get you back on the road. And they got me back on the road. And I continued and continued and continued till the snow became too much, because I deliberately picked May because I didn't want it to be easy. I should have just gone in July and had some more fun. But I wanted it to be hard, and it was hard. I got to the Arctic Circle. I was done at that point. I was like, why did I just not say, cabin to the Arctic Circle. I could have just read the flags out, got a coffee, and I could have just gone home. And it's now Baltically freezing. It's snowing. There's ice everywhere. I got stuck in Finland, and yeah, everything just went crazy. I did end up I ended up having to finish it in a car, but I camped at Nordkapp in the car. I met some amazing people, and I read out the names of all the people at the monument. It took hours to do it, sitting in the snow, freezing my ass off. And I did it because I believe strongly that you need to remember people who have passed away. And because when I'm gone, who's going to remember me? Well, they're going to watch my videos. They're going to put my videos up on the screen. That's my legacy. My kids can show their kids can show them kids. They won't remember great Uncle Johnny as whatever. He was a biker. He did this. So I'm all about remembrance and never afraid to talk about taboo subjects like child loss. And that's what it was all about. It was all about doing that. And people were amazed by the story on the way up that they were adding names to flags. And I thought, great, I've done it. I've gotten there. I'm going to come home now. And then I had more problems with the bike. And then I ended up in dealers, and they're like, who are you? What are you doing here? So Umeå in Sweden, Harley Davidson Umeå. I'm probably saying that completely wrong. Jimmy the mechanic. And he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, why are you here? I don't see Pan Americas up here. This is crazy. Like, they let me clean the bike in the wet room, and, they got the bike back up and running. They did everything for me, and he goes, this is a great story. And he's like, can I get our social media manager to come down? So yeah, she started crying. How come I was upsetting her? Her husband had passed away from cancer. So she asked me, could you put the name on the flag? And I'm kind of sitting there going, well, I've kind of already done, I'm not going back to Nordkapp, but I said, well, I'll take the bike to Ireland. And she goes, oh, that would be amazing. And I went, how about I take the flag back to Ireland? I'll go down to the bike fest in Ireland, and I'll stand on the stage and get an epic selfie. How's that sound? And she went, that's amazing. And then I just finished that conversation and went, shit, what am I after doing? So suddenly that turned into part 2 of the trip. So I reached out to the Bike Fest, and Shane was like, yeah, we'll do this. So that was a goal. So that's why on the way down, I added more names and more people joined it. And then I got a biker escort in Denmark, which was, I'm not going to say, man, I was in tears when I turned up, and there's all these bikers and they're there for me. And I'm going, what the fuck is going on? And I finished it, got back. And then on the way back in Ireland, I met all the parents, I met as many parents as I could who had a name on the flag. And it meant a lot for them to actually see the actual physical flag that I brought with me. And I made it all the way down to the Bike Fest, and I stood on the stage. I had a speech, and then I got the epic selfie, and then I finished, and I raised €9,600 in the end. So I was a bit grumpy that I didn't get to the 10, but 9,600 in the end was a lot more than the 6 I planned out to be on. And it was, it was just epic. Once in a lifetime. I highly recommend never trying to do it in May, and definitely not trying to do it in 3 weeks.
So that was my next question, actually. How long did it take?
It took, I need to get it right. The overall challenge was 28 days. I think 23 days.
Okay.
Up and down. And of the 23 days, I'd say 3 of them were holiday, and the rest was just pushing myself. I was doing 700-800 kilometers a day. In some of the weather was snowing, and going that fast on the bike, it was a combination of go slow and take longer, go faster, be colder. And it was the heat gear certainly helped, but it was 11,000 kilometers in the end.
Do you have any ambition to do anything like that again?
Yes, I do. I want to do the most southerly, easterly, and westerly points, and I think that's them all done then in Europe. But the idea for that then would be, well, I'm going to do all of it off-road. I'm going to do the south and the east, the most of that off-road. I think that's a good challenge. I was like, yeah, and I'll pick some charities and we'll try to do that again. And then the north east, the most easterly one is a bit contentious as to where it is. Some people say is it the Ural Mountains in Russia? So we might just leave that one for a wee while and not do that one too soon. We'll just do the other two first. But they would be dreams, I think. But I think since the last couple of years, my aspirations for epic tripness have kind of changed. But when I came back, I was like, oh yeah, we'll do the full compass.
And would you do that by yourself?
I originally would, yeah. I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy being on my own in Nordkapp. There was times where it felt extremely lonely and extremely hard, not seeing anyone at all. But yeah, I think it's easier to organize on your own than trying to do it in a group. It wouldn't bother me to do it on my own. If someone is as crazy as me and wants to go and do it with me, they're more than welcome to come along.
What keeps you motivated? Okay, apart from these big trips and big plans and dreams, what keeps you motivated to keep doing the vlogs? Or is motivation actually not a question now because it's kind of tied up with the whole therapy aspect that you find of just riding? It's just a natural part of riding. Sometimes you do a vlog, sometimes you just ride without vlogging.
I generally always have a camera with me. It's always there. Anytime I go out, there's always a camera on the bike, whether I record something or not, it's always there. It's more than I'm trying to think, like it's like a hobby, and I enjoy doing it. At this point, it doesn't feel like it's an effort to do it because the way I have the setup now, it's very easy for me just to click a camera on and actually just record what I'm doing. So I don't feel like I have to motivate myself at all. It feels just like it's now when I go out on the bike, there's a camera and that's that. And if I capture something, I capture something. There's a lot of days I go out on the bike where nothing is used, nothing happens, and I just don't do anything. I might use it to make a YouTube short or a short video or an Instagram reel. I'll get something like that out of it. It's more now a point of just it's a hobby, I think, and it's just something that is for me. And I don't feel like I need to go motivate myself to do this. It's just natural now. It's like part of me.
Okay, look, I'm going to get into trouble if I don't ask you a little bit more about the motorcycling and what you're riding these days, because it's actually quite interesting. At least I think it is. How did you get into motorcycling, and when did you get into motorcycling?
I have to blame my brother Paul. He would have had bikes when I was young. I can't remember the bike that he had. It was a scrambler, like a 80cc. I just remember it being red with a square light. I can't remember what it was. And we lived in Finglas in Dublin, which was notorious for bike crime. It probably still really is. If your bike gets stolen in Dublin, go to Finglas, it's probably there. But yeah, so that's where we lived. And he would have had these little scramblers, off-roady bikes, but he wouldn't have done off-road. At least I don't think so. Unless he crashed, which he quite a lot. He crashed into hedges. So I used to be on the back of that. It was 80cc, and that was really good fun. Then he would have gone into Viragos and Shadows, and eventually ended up with Gold Wings. But I went to live with him, and he'd broken up with his girlfriend and took back the bike that he bought her, which was a Honda SRX 90, which I then bought off him. And I learned how to drive this little moped around the back garden, and I thought I was the business driving that bike because I'm not sure if people remember it. It's called the Honda Shadow or the Honda Joker. In Japan, it's got teardropped handlebars. It looked really good. It's 4-stroke, 90cc. It moved, and I drove that, and I loved it. I actually have one beside me. From this one is 90. This is 2000. It's not the one I had, but when I got rid of it, I was gutted. So I ended up finding another one. So I have it here. And then I had a bad crash. I gave up and I stopped. And then I was a musician, as I've said numerous times already. I was going to the Bike Fest in Clarny, doing a gig in Kenmare. I was in a van. I was going up a hill. The van was slowing down. And then I was overtaken by about 120 Harley Davidsons. And I was like, what the fuck is that? That is awesome. And then we were staying in the Glen Eagles. Now, we had no idea what was going on in the Glen Eagles that weekend. And next of all, there's all these Harley Davidson flags everywhere. And then I walked into the Dublin Harley Davidson tent. and there was a sign saying learner legal. And I was like, it's 1200cc. There's no way that's learner legal. And I met a chap called Derek, and Derek's like, yes, this is learner legal. And then I went, okay. So did the gig, whatever. I followed up with Derek, and I went up to the shop, and he's like, what do you want to do? I said, well, I'd like to learn again. You know, it's been a while since I've been on the road. I'd like to learn again. So there's a guy called Tony Toner who was doing lessons. He's a big influencer in Ireland, ex-bike guard, a really nice guy. He was doing the lessons. And he asked me, what bike would you love? And I said, I love a Sportster. So, of course, what did they do the lessons on? A fucking Sportster. And I did the lessons, and Tony said after 2 lessons, look, you're fine. You know, you'll grasp this. And I went in to speak to Derek, and I couldn't afford a new one. And he said to me that he had, I've gone off on a tangent here, but I think it's an interesting story. He had a bike that was being traded in, a Harley Davidson Sportster that had 147 miles on the clock. The person who bought it is getting divorced, and the cheapest way they can split the assets is to sell everything and split the money. And yeah, lo and behold, the Sportster turns up with 147 miles on the clock, which is the exact distance from the shop to the guy's front living room, which is where the bike lived. And I bought that. And then myself and the wife went to Cork on the first spin. I thought, this is awesome. This is brilliant. And then I realized the Sportster is just like really light, and you get blown around quite a lot. I then broke my arm, and I decided to get rid of it. And with a broken arm, I bought an obnoxiously loud Harley Davidson Softail, which was fully customed. You couldn't have a conversation within 20 feet of it, but it looked amazing. I spent 10 years driving that bike around, loving and hating it. It sometimes didn't like turning corners, but it looked great. Sometimes, yeah. It's just like, you know what, Johnny, I ain't taking this corner. You can just slow down, or you can just go on the other side of the road. It was so improperly balanced because it was so customized. It was just an awesome looking bike. And then I got rid of that and moved to a Harley Davidson Street Glide, because like everyone, we all love Sons of Anarchy, and you know, you need the fairing and you need to be cool. And I seen it, and it was black, and black is just great. And I had storage, because the first bike didn't have any fucking storage on it at all. This bike is great. I drove that, and then I went to Donegal, and my friend had a Harley Davidson Pan America Decky, and I slept beside it, and I thought, that's a horrible looking bike. And then I woke up and said, this is a really nice looking bike. And then I fell in love with Pan America. Then I realized the fucking thing lowered itself down, so all 5'5" of me could actually drive this thing. So I bought that and thought, you know what? I am an absolute animal driving bikes. This is an off-road bike. I'm going to go off-roading on it. And then I went to the ABR, and I went, you know what? Second thoughts, I haven't a clue what I'm doing. I'm going to die. I can't ride this thing off-road. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm a fucking moron. And then I went out and got a Honda CRF 300L, and I have that. And I was like, I can manage this. I can kind of pick this up when it falls over. And I fell in love with off-roading, because the most technical thing I ever seen in the bike rally was some drunken idiot doing a burnout. And then I go to the ABR and realize, wow, I said, these guys are really skilled. This is really fun. And in between all that, I added a 2000 Road Glide, which my friend Harley Mick, who passed away, that was his bike, and I bought that. So at this moment in time, I have the Honda SRX 90, which doesn't do anything. I have the Road Glide, which is just more of a memorial piece in the bike room. I have a Street Glide, the Pan America, and my beloved Honda CRF 300L. And that's where we're at now.
And how do you share your time? See, I have one bike, and my brain is just not big enough to deal with more than one bike at a time. So how do you share your affection for these bikes? Like, how do you share time with them? Like, what gets ridden the most these days? Or do you have to keep them all sweet by, you know, equal time for each bike? How does it work with you multi-bike families?
A disclaimer, this is the part of the program where a wife should just detune and maybe skip to the next bit. So this year I've been out in 3 of them. I was out in the Street Glide there last weekend. I have considered selling it, and you drive it for 10 minutes. I've got Wilbur suspension on it. It drives as good as a brand new one. It's so comfortable. I do like driving that. I've been out in the Pan America. I suppose I certainly in the last 6 years, I've gone from being a fair weather biker to just being get out whenever I can. Don't care what the weather is like. They're not garage princesses. I bring them out. I get them dirty. I used to commute in the street glide. I didn't care. And I just get out. Yeah. I'm fortunate enough. I love you, honey. I'm fortunate enough to be allowed out as much as I possibly can. And it just depends on what mood I'm in. So the last couple of times I've been out on Pan America, I've recently put the knobby tires back on it because I feel like I'm at the level now I can possibly go and do me off-roading again on the Pan America. So I just make the time. I know anyone who's listening might be oh, well, good for him. My kids are at an age where like I'm allowed, I can get out and get away. There is people obviously with young kids who would struggle, but I just make the time, and I don't want that to come across wrong. I just make the time to love them all equally.
Are you surprised about your newfound love for off-roading and the fact that you've got all these Harleys in the garage and a Honda CRF?
Yes, I genuinely surprised that at the age I'm at, I'm now doing something that I probably really should have started doing years ago. Yeah, like I said, I went to the ABR with the whole intentions of thinking I could take a behemoth of a monster of a bike on a trail. I spent 3 days on the beginner's track. That's how bad I was. And I chickened out halfway through the first section of the Bridgestone Trail. But I love exploring. I love going to places I've never been. And then I realized that when you want to take a street glide, a road glide, or a Pan America, you want to do road, you always end up at the same fucking places. You go to the same garage. That's why I discovered the Irish Photo Rally, which makes you go places you would never be. But you end up being away for hours and hours. But with the CRF and the off-road, I can go across the road and I could spend an hour in a field across the road. So for those listening, if you want to make your wife give you more bike time, you can try and convince her to give you an off-road bike because you're like, oh, honey, I'm just going to be across the road if you need me. And you're having all this fun doing all this off-roading, but you're not gone too far and you can get back if there's an emergency. So yeah, I said it in one of my vlogs. I've made more friends with off-roading in a year and a half, 2 years, than I've made in 25, 30 years driving road bikes. Because I do believe that when you go off-roading with someone, it can get really hard, as one of my last vlogs proved, and you're stuck in a spot and you make a bond with a person who's helping you. And they might be helping you a lot, George, Rob, if you're listening, I know, they might help you a lot, and they see a side of you, a vulnerable side of you, and you see a vulnerable side of them because they sometimes screw shit up too, and it's more of an honest friendship. It's really weird. It's hard to explain, but I'm in a group, in a circle of people who I'm like going, I want to go riding with these people. Where on the road, it's me or my brother, and there's very few other people. There's a handful of people locally who I go riding on the road. But when it comes to the off-roading, it's a completely different community. They also hate Harley Davidsons, but that's fine. That's absolutely grand. I'll kick down that door. Them T7 owners, yeah, they got notions.
I know that you're preparing for a trip in the summer and you're sort of training for that now. So perhaps just tell us about that.
Yes. So last year with Rob and Owen, I managed one day of the TET, the Welsh TET with them, the Trans-Euro Trail. And I shitted myself. It was really tricky, and they breezed through it. And then I went on to the ABR, and they went and did another day. So what we've done this year is we decided that the ABR is not the destination we're aiming for. It is the recuperation center, and we're going to spend Saturday to the Friday beforehand doing the Welsh ABR, or the Welsh test, sorry. So the Welsh test is probably considered to be one of the harder of the Trans-Euro trails. It can range from being very enduro based to being plush kind of gravel lanes and everything in between. So I'm pushing myself to learn how to do the trickier, more complicated tracks, gravel tracks, loose stone, inclines and steep hills, and lifting the bike up over large boulders, which Wales is primarily made of. So yeah, I'm pushing myself. So training at a 10 with the hope I never meet a 10 when, when I'm there, because it's hard. I'm only small.
Okay, well, best of luck for that. I think, doesn't it always rain in Wales? Okay, maybe don't answer that. We'll just move right on. We are sort of on the home straight, so a couple of final questions I need to ask you, and hopefully you've done your homework for the first one, which is with regards to your own filmmaking. Who have you taken inspiration from, and who would you recommend others to watch?
I did do my research on this. I do have a couple of points. Million Dollar Bogan was my inspiration for all of it, and I know now he's not really doing motorcycle vlogging. He's gone into his yachts. But if you're a fan of him, you'll see that he's still the same personality throughout. I think for doing something epic and putting yourself in a place you really have no business in being in, he's definitely someone who you can have a look up into. Since the off-roading, I'm going to, hopefully I say his name correctly, the Adam Ryman would be a channel that I do watch. He does have some really straightforward home truths in terms of people with notions thinking they can take their big GSs and Pan Americas and start doing off-roading when they have no right. I'll be honest with you, you should just get something smaller and learn on that, so before you go and destroy your big bike. So I do watch his stuff. If you're a Honda 300L owner, Ray Moto is a great channel. If you want to do anything on your bike, he's the guy to look up a video. They're all really, really, really good. For Harley Davidson, the Pan America, another channel I found was Alcamoto. He's over in England, and his content is really good. I love the way he incorporates the talking style and the interview. Like, he does a really good job at interviewing himself when he's driving. There's my mate in Cork, Adventure Motor Ireland. That's Rob. I love him. When I was going to Nordkapp then, I found these channels. I found Andy, is it Andy Man Cam?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, such a unique way of vlogging and making videos. There's the Nordkapp one where he's driving with his friend. And I still to this day haven't figured out if that's actually his friend talking or is that him just putting on a second voice. He'd really cleverly done it. And I do like his content. And then he moved into off-road as well, which is a really interesting journey. And I know he's injured himself. But, I think his filmmaking is at another level, but he still keeps it very straightforward. He doesn't overcomplicate it, and he's just a great writer. Sean and Emily would be another one. I found them by reviewing Nordkapp. Not for everyone. I find the content is really good. They're very, very well made videos. There is two of them, so they've got the benefit of having like that cameraman. But their content is really good. And I know they're around the world trip at the moment, And I do message Sean on his Instagram every now and again, just taking the piss out of his GS because and him likes so with my Pan America. And then if you're into tech. If you're looking up tech, you want to know the latest and greatest. Obviously, there's Dave Really Good TV, which I think that's how I found Dave, was looking up tech. And if you want to know anything about drones, the Drone Creative is Northern Ireland. And he is paid by DJI in some of his content, but he pulls no punches in saying there's a problem, if there's a problem. And that's the Drone Creative. And I just find his videos really good, really easy to understand. And if you want to make a decision on a drone or a piece of tech, he's also really, really good. So yeah, they're the ones. I don't watch telly, I watch YouTube. And I just went through it this morning and went, yeah, they're the people I've been watching for the last wee while.
Very good. Okay. The question everyone waits for. Does the filming enhance or diminish the pleasure of a motorcycle ride for you?
It enhances it for me. I think I like knowing that even if I don't use it, I kind of have it. I keep everything. I've terabytes of footage that I just keep, never know when I might use it. It definitely enhances it. It gives it a bit of a purpose as well. It frames why I want to do it. And like I said, it just feels natural to have a camera on the bike. So yeah, I think hopefully that's a good answer. I have to listen back to see what other people said and compare myself.
Thanks so much for being my guest today, Jonny. It's been a lot of fun hearing your stories. Now's your chance to tell folk where they can find and follow you online.
Yeah, so primarily my YouTube channel is The Lad with the Beard, and that's where you'll find all the latest and greatest videos. For the most up-to-date adventures, Instagram, and it's also The Lad with the Beard. And I generally will always post what I'm doing, what I'm at, and sharing content there. There is a Facebook page that I don't really do anything about, but Instagram and YouTube, The Lad with the Beard, they are the ones.
Super. Thanks again for being here today. Take care and ride safe.
Thank you very much for having me, Simon. This was certainly refreshing, and you definitely asked me questions I was not expecting and thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you very much.